Your half-sibling was given DNA from your mom, so your codes potentially match. It's more than likely. So let's take a look at your sibling's code. So let's pretend your sibling's code is 13580. She has 5 codes for mom, just like you. And your code is 12589. You have 5 codes for mom, and the 1, the 5, and the 8 match for both of you. So you guys have the exact same code for things just like your siblings that you have with your mom and dad. The only difference is your dad is not in this sibling's code. So you probably cannot match them at 50%. You are more likely on average to match a half sibling at 25%. In this particular example, you happen to be matching at 30%. And that's because you just have more DNA that matches across you and your sibling because your mother gave you that DNA exactly. But you have to be careful and do your research. Parents match at the highest, and full siblings are the second highest, meaning you share a mom and a dad. Now, once you get to 25% matches, or a fourth of your DNA, there are multiple people in your life that can match you at that rate. So, 25%, a half sibling can match you, a grandparent can match you, a full aunt or uncle, or a full niece or nephew. I know. How does that happen? Well, this happens because you have 2 sets of grandparents. Yeah, let's just do the basic math on this. So, mom and dad made up 50% of your DNA. So, it's safe to say that their parents made up 50% of their DNA. Right. So that's why your grandma and your grandpa on both sides each are about 25% of your DNA. That's an average because mom is 50% of her mom and 50% of her dad. But when mom was passing that DNA on to you, it's all mixed up in her. So she doesn't know which parts of her mother and her father she's passing to you. So she could pass you 20% of your grandma and 30% of your grandpa, and that still makes up 50% of her. Or it could be 23, 27, 24, 26. You never know how the DNA will be passed to you. So on average, you will match your grandparents at roughly 25%. Now let's pretend that your dad had a sister. That sister is, of course, your aunt's. And just like with your siblings, your dad will match his sister at about 50%. And that means if he matches his sister at 50%, you have to cut it in half to see how close you match to your aunt. You match your aunt at about 25%. The great thing with tracking DNA is it's all about the division. Every step someone is away from you, you can cut it in half. So, you think you got it? If your aunt has a child, that would make that child your first cousin. Any guesses? How much of your DNA do you think you share with your first cousin? Yeah, you almost got it right. Yeah, somewhere between 12 and 13%. Yeah, you just divide in half. Your first cousin shares about that much DNA with you. But since that first cousin is your dad's niece or nephew, they will share about 25% of their DNA with your father. So you can always do the math and figure out exactly how you're related to someone if you're only given the number. So are you wondering, who else matches me at about 1/8 of who I am? Well, that's an easy one. Your great-grandparents or your great-grandchild will match you at 1/8 of who you are, or roughly 12 to 13%. And of course, those first cousins, but also your half-aunts and half-uncles or half-nieces and nephews, or your great-grandparents' siblings. Yeah, those great-aunts and uncles. Or it could be your full niece and nephew's children. They will all match you at about 12 to 13% of your DNA. So in this example, let's start with you, 100% of you. Well, your mom is 50% of you, and your grandma's 25% of you. So what about that great aunt? Do you remember your grandma's sister? Well, we've learned that she's going to be 12 to 13% of you. Your DNA will match her exactly at around 12 to 13%. So that great aunt, she has a child, and that is your mom's first cousin. That first cousin matches you at how much? Yes, 6 to 8%. You're keeping up. And that first cousin's child? Yep, you got it. 3 to 4% of exact matching DNA. Now, before you even ask, what if Grandma and Great Aunt Sally don't share the same dad? Well, that's simple. Anytime in your steps through DNA where two siblings do not share both parents, cut the DNA in half. Yeah, so Great Aunt Sally is more likely to match you at 6 to 8% of your DNA. Yeah, and every step after that. Congratulations on taking your first step to understanding your DNA results. Now make sure to check out some of our other videos and rewatch this one if you have to. I know, it's a lot to take in. And good luck on your journey. And for those of you out there who may be the result of someone looking for you, have a little compassion. It's a very difficult journey. Don't forget to hit that little bell to subscribe and like for more videos.